Hey! We're gonna get started in a little bit. Just grab my water, just a few things here, and we're gonna get started with an art stream. See you in a little bit. Bye. Me. Hello, hey, and welcome. Hey, the mic's on now. See the little sound bars filling up as they react to my voice. Hello, hey, and welcome to the stream. Welcome to WIP Work in Progress Wednesdays for the night of January 26, 2022, 10:11 p.m. Wednesday. To the host. PXB Art. That's me. Hi, I'm your host, PXB Art. I'm animator, illustrator, 3D artist, currently with CBS and a few other places that I cannot talk about because of NDAs and such. But yeah, hi, thank you for joining me today on my very humble art stream as we get started on our little art journey for the night as I look for some music keep us company on this very chill, very cold New York night. I think it's about like 15 degrees out right now, or at least it feels that way when I took out the trash. But yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, apologies for the inconsistent streaming schedule as I am I'm stretching already. I just started. Hey. How's it going, Super X? Thank you for redeeming stretching. But yeah. Apologies for the inconsistent streams schedule lately. In the process of moving. So, boxing up some stuff. And yeah, just very busy between moving, working. My wife's taking a trip to overseas trip soon to go home for a bit soon. That's going to be a very big long trip to go visit her parents because it's been a while since, because of COVID. Yeah, it's been not easy to see family, especially family overseas. So we're just we're getting ready for all of that. So thank you for joining me here on my humble little stream. And yeah, let's hit the music again because we're still in the introduction. Hi. But yeah, thank you all, everyone. Wrong button. Meant to hit my little sound effects button. But yeah. Yep, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. If you're watching this live, you're watching the archive. Thank you very much for joining me. But yeah, we're gonna get started. We're doing a, what are we doing tonight? We're doing a Lunar New Year themed, but kind of pop culture themed, so it's not real Lunar New Year themed art. So we're celebrating the Year of the Tiger. How we're going to do that? We're going to draw a tiger. of some sort. I promise you that there is a tiger going to be present during this live stream. Not a real tiger, but one that we draw. So that's what we're going to do tonight. Yeah, we're going to teach you how in Clip Studio Paint Pro, so you can just follow along. If we're going to do some sketching, we're going to do some inking, might do some coloring, but if we don't get to that, then we'll get back to it. Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about art, is that you can always stop and then get back to it. Yeah, I'm not going to linger too much with this intro because yeah, I'm just kind of like spinning my wheel here, and anything I say during this time I could just say during the art stream. So yeah, we're gonna be kind of ranting about a few topics that have gone on. We can talk about a little bit about Activision Blizzard being acquired by Microsoft. I'm sure a lot of people have said their thoughts about that. I have some unique thoughts. Hey, how's it going, Simper X? Round of applause for Simper X for joining me tonight. Thank you for being here. Check him out. He is a variety streamer. Plays a lot of Apex Legends, does art as well, 3D modeling, illustration, so check him out on his channel. Overall, cool guy. Where was I? So yeah, we're gonna talk about the goings-ons in the news. I just watched The Mandalorian. I have some thoughts on that. Not Mandalorian, the Boba Fett show, which I inadvertently spoiled things right there by saying that. But yeah, Encanto. I watched Encanto last week. I have some thoughts about that. So you can listen to me rant about Colombian animation, or rather Colombian representation in animation. So yeah, so let's get started on this. So we got our little Stream Deck here. The thing about the Stream Deck news and Steam Deck news hitting on the same day, they announced a new Stream Deck, which is the foot pedal, which seems cool. I didn't think I would use one of these, so I can't really think of my ways of me to use the other one, the foot pedal one, but like I said, I never envisioned myself having one of these, but no, like I said, it's a nice, valuable part of my setup here. But yeah, so they announced the Stream Deck pedal, and they also announced this release date for the Steam Deck. So you can imagine how confusing that news is. Like every time, I don't know what the hell Valve has against Elgato, but every time there is a little bit of news about a Stream Deck, when they announce a new product, they like the same day they announce a new Steam Deck news. Like either pre-orders go up, or like, you know, release date is announced, or they announce that, hey, we don't have enough of these, blah blah. They always kind of get buried in the news that way. But yeah, new Stream Deck pedal, and the Steam Deck is coming out on February 25th. It's going to start being released into the wild. I believe I have a pre-order up for that batch, but we'll see. I kind of forgot about it, but then when I saw the news article, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to get charged for that. So we'll see. Well, I'll just have to see if I can update my billing address, because I'm probably, by the time it gets mailed to me, I'll probably not live here anymore. So yeah, that might be a problem. But yeah, but speaking of problems and problematic, say hello to our Year of the Tiger subject, Tygra from Thundercats. I went ahead and started a sketch, so you see this little blue sketch here that we started in Clip Studio Pro. I wanted to get like the pose out of the way, so we're gonna fill this in. Tygra from Thundercats, as you know, he's a tiger guy. He's a tiger man with a whip. So yeah, I personally think he's like the coolest character in Thundercats. He's kind of like he's like the Gambit of late 80s Thundercats, of like, you know, late 80s Saturday morning television, before Gambit became known among amongst people my age. And people were like, oh my god, Gambit's so cool. Like, you know, Gambit's like the cool one of the X-Men. Even though he's not he's like the cool side character that is like actually cooler than the main character, who I guess the main character is Wolverine, I would say. But yeah, Tygra is like, you know, he's the cool side character that's like, you know, cocky, sure of himself, kind of like athletic, not too buff. He's not like a Panthro or even Lion-O. Lion-O's kind of like jacked or whatever, but like, you know, Tygra, he's kind of like, you know, he's slimmer, he's athletic, he does flips, he does gymnast shit, just like Gambit. Like I would say the Tygra Lion-O relationship walked so the Gambit Wolverine relationship could fly, or however that phrase goes. It got kids excited in the 80s for that sort of dynamic. But yeah. So this is the results of the poll that I took on Instagram. I left it up to my Instagram followers, like what I would be drawing tonight in my year. Yeah, so we're gonna do like a little year of the Tygra, and then we're just gonna fill this in with like red or something. So that's our like little loose sketch. So yeah, I put a poll for my Instagram followers, in a very informal poll. Who do you want to see for Year of the Tiger? You want to see Tygra or Sagat with the Tiger uppercut? And the winner by 67% to 33 is Tygra. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do tonight, due to popular demand. He won the popular vote. There's no electoral college here, unless there's a tie of some sort. If there's a tie, then I would have just drawn the guy from Tiger King. Anyway, so let's get started. Blue sketch is there. Time lapse. I don't want to do time lapse. Let's turn that off. Maybe we'll turn it on. Make a new layer. Gray. Real pencil. Let's turn off the UI. It's distracting. Maybe I'll knock down the blue pencil sketch a little bit more. Real close. So a good thing you want to do when you're drawing is just have some reference kind of handy. You have Tygra here on the Google search here. So we're gonna go for the classic look, the blue romper. I think this rompers were like very popular in fashion in like 2017, 2018. Those made a comeback, but with the pandemic they kind of went away. I like this little big-headed Tygra. So important things to note, he's got this little shoulder thing here that is only on this arm, on his left arm. He's a righty, which I'm pretty sure I did. Did I do that? I did. Yep, he's a righty. Otherwise, I would have flipped the drawing. Notification, Twitter, cool. I'm gonna close my social media so I'll leave them open for your distraction. Yeah, important to note, little shoulder pad thing here, present only on his left arm, not on his right. He's got the little emblem, he's got a baby blue thingy, he's got like a blowout. Blowout haircuts were very popular amongst kids my age, or men my age, in like the early 2000s. You get a taper and a blowout, and lots of hair gel. action figure. But yeah, look at this. Image in a new tab. Look at these goobers. Like, you know, look at these guys. I mean, Chitara's Chitara, like, you know, whatever. But like, you know, out of all these dudes, Tygra, he looks cool. Wily Cat. Yeah, fuck those guys. They were not. They were there to, like, you know, for little kids to relate to, but I just found them annoying. And for some reason, like, I mean, they mention it in the first couple of episodes of the show, which I noticed upon rewatching, but then they never really mention it again later on as the show kind of progresses. Is that Lion-O is basically Captain Marvel. He is a child in the body of an adult. They're all put into cryogenic sleep as they escape their home planet being destroyed. He is a little kid, so they're all kind of put, like, you know, they're all frozen. But then, like, his cryo chamber is damaged somehow, so he ends up aging normally, whereas everyone else kind of stays the same. But, you know, he's asleep while he ages, so he has the mind of a child. It's weird. And, like, you know, I kind of rewatched Thundercats, like, I'm not gonna say, like, recently, but kind of semi-recently, maybe, like, 4 years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that aspect of the show. And because it never really comes up again after, like, the first batch of episodes. Oh, this is some cool art. Chitara Tygra, nice. So yeah, we're gonna go for, like, a cell shaded look with this, just to kind of honor the kind of animation style. So, like, you know, solid colors with, like, little solid shading and whatnot, maybe some highlights and whatnot. So yeah, so let's keep this open on my other monitor. So that way, so if you kind of see me, like, looking this way, it's because I'm looking at this guy. Alright, open image, new tab. Okay, so let's get started on this this Tiger Man. Very light strokes. Just going relaxed. Keeping things loose. Keeping loose. Should I turn on time lapse? Sure. Because you know what? I am turning on time lapse because I am probably going to export this to TikTok when I'm done, and Instagram story. Tygra always has this kind of smug, like, Jim Halpert kind of smile, like, where he's like, yeah, I totally smelled the part that you did, but I'm a cool guy, so I'm not gonna mention it. Just don't let it happen again. But yeah, Tygra's like this kind of character archetype, you see. He's kind of like the Uncle Jesse of Thundercats. Uncle Jesse or Gambit, like I mentioned before, or like Zero. He's like Zero to Mega Man X, where he's like not really the main character, but you're like, yeah, he's cooler. He's like the cool character, whereas like Lion-O, like, yeah, like I had a Lion-O action figure, and as a little kid I was just like, yeah, like, you know, I like the main character, cool, but yeah, I want an action figure of the main character. But then upon rewatching it, I'm just like, Lion-O's kind of a goober. Lion-O is just barely less annoying than Wily Cat. see if I have my little remote control thingy here. Alright. Yep. So we're just kind of filling in. Body. And then we're going to go into details later on. Yeah, I hope everyone's having a good evening. We're celebrating Henrik Lundqvist week all week here in this Rangers household. Henrik Lundqvist, as you know, a long-time goalie for the New York Rangers, retired last year. Spent his whole career in New York. He did get traded at the end of the 2020 season. Got traded to Washington. He never played a game for Washington though, because unfortunately he did have a undiagnosed heart condition, which he kind of just carried with him his whole kind of later half of his career, or later in his kind of final years of his career. So he had to get that addressed, and upon completing the surgeries and procedures for that, he decided he's not in shape anymore to handle being in a high intensity game like hockey, NHL hockey, and decided to hang it up. One of the greatest goaltenders certainly the greatest goaltender that the New York Rangers have ever had. Up there with Mike Richter. You can debate with all day long who's better. And one of the best in the league itself. It's a shame he never got a Stanley Cup. Came real close in 2014. I'll say it was due to some referee fuckery that we didn't get it that year, but it unfortunately was not our time. And he had the shot, but the stats don't lie though. He's one of the top winningest goalies in the league itself, certainly the top winningest goalie in Rangers history. And he decided to call it quits at the beginning of this season. He's just yep, I'm not coming back. So he was unable to fulfill his contract as a Washington Capital, which, you know what, seeing him in that uniform was heartbreaking, especially since they are rivals of the New York Rangers. Living a nice, happy, full, healthy life with his family, his wife, his daughters. He's also become a commentator on MSG Networks and on TNT, so he's been commentating on a whole bunch of hockey games. And all this is to say that this week, why does this week matter? They are retiring his jersey, his number 30. So that's going on this week. Just put this guy. Just make sure that's extend that out a bit more so it doesn't look squished on one side. So we're celebrating this year, this week. A great career, a great guy. I got my hat signed by him once. He was very nice. Hope to see him in some sort of like a coaching capacity with the Rangers, if he can. Hopefully he can get him a cup that way. Yeah, but aside from, like, you know, he's won several Olympics, he's won several European tournaments, he's been the Vezina winner, NHL All-Star. All-around great guy. So I played my first Ratchet and Clank game. What is this? I didn't even notice that little menu up there. So I played my first Ratchet and Clank game this week. Beat it. Played the PS4 remake of the first one. It was quite good. I liked it. You know, it was good. It was very obvious. Like it was kind of weird because, like, you know, it looks like a PS4 game. It's like very nice looking models, nice lighting, nice animation, like lots of squash and stretch stuff going on there. It looks damn fine. But I think because they're adapting a lot of the story beats and stuff from like a PS2 game, everything kind of has like this weird kind of stunted feeling where they have like a 2-second, like it's kind of weird, like it's kind of hard to describe. Like the cutscenes feel very PS2, but even though the graphics are highly polished and like you know PS4 quality, and when you play on a PS5, you can turn on HDR and all that crap. So it looks gorgeous. But the cutscenes, they feel like very rushed, very kind of like very much like, oh, this is like from a PS2 game where like they have pre-rendered cutscenes, but they kind of keep them short because even though you can have DVD quality video on it, you kind of don't want that eating up too much space on your disc, so you kind of keep the animations. And plus, pre-rendering time is like so long back then, so you get like little 30-second cutscenes. They're like, oh, here's a joke, and move on. And now I don't know if those are actually like the same script or dialogue from like the original game, but it felt like it. With that said, the game was fun. I enjoyed it. It was a nice little primer. I'm under the impression that I think they changed things for this game to kind of coincide with the movie that came out like in 2016. As in the villain of the movie is like the villain of the game. Like they kind of like, I think there's someone that they retcon later on as like, oh, this is like the big bad of the franchise. They kind of retcon him as like, oh yeah, he was always there. Whereas I think he didn't get revealed until like the third or fourth game of the originals. And yeah, and I was kind of like looking, because it does when you're playing the game, it gives you like little collectibles, like little trading card things, and it's like, oh, this character's from this game, and this character is like, you know, they're little collectibles, little NFTs, little collectible digital art things that are like, oh hey, here's like a render of this character from this game, and there are so many Ratchet and Clank games. Oh my god, it's like a lot of them. Yeah, Tygra, he looks pretty Lombaxy. Gotta give him the trademark Tygra bulge. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they, like most pieces of Tygra art that I see, even from the show, like he has a bulge, kind of. So good on him. I don't want to know what the anatomy of a Thundercat is down there. But I'm sure there are people out there who have given it a lot of thought. Kinda got that Vegeta hairline, the widow's peak and everything. So these lines, these like face lines here that I'm kind of circling. I think when I go back and do inks, I'm not going to fill that in. In fact, I should probably just erase them so I don't accidentally fill them in. Instead, I'm just going to do a color. We should probably save it. Let's see, let's call this Tygra here. But yeah, last year I did a Year of the Ox sketch, or art piece of Gyu from Dragon Ball, otherwise known as the Ox King. That was fun. I don't remember if I did a stream on that or not. Yeah, Ratchet and Clank, pretty good game. I think it went on for a few hours, longer than it should have. I was like kind of ready for it to end by the time I was done with it, but I also kind of stopped right before the last boss, and I was just like, you know what, let me grind some of these weapons. Let me level them up before jumping in. Well, I'm not going to say that was a waste of time to do that. I certainly did not need to do that. The game wasn't that hard. And if I really needed to, I could have bumped down the difficulty. Because you don't get anything special for beating it on hard. But I did this because when I got my PS5, I also got the new Ratchet and Clank, Rift Apart, something like that. And I did not want to go into that one without having some sort of knowledge of who these characters are. So that's why I wanted to play the original, even though it's a remake. And being a remake, it kind of changes things. Because the framing device of the remake and why things are different in it is actually pretty interesting. Because they even acknowledge in the game, they're like, oh yeah, this is different than the events of the first PS2 game, because it's no spoiler here, because it's like the first thing that happened in the game. Like yeah, it's told from the perspective of Captain Pork, who is, if you played Ratchet and Clank or you're familiar with it at all, he's kind of like the superhero, that figure of that universe. He's kind of like the Captain America there. He's like or like Superman, where he's like, oh, he's a hero that everyone agrees is like, oh, he's like a really cool guy, he's a really good guy. And like, you know, Ratchet, our main character, aspires to be like him. But then throughout the course of the game, you learn that he actually betrayed everyone and became a villain. So the story is being told from his perspective in jail, where he's like, oh yeah, this is what happened, this is what the events of the first game are. And he's like, I might get some things wrong or whatever, or like some things might be different because this is how I remember them or whatever. And the person that he's talking to, like, kind of even says in like a fourth wall, he's like, I kind of played the video game versions of these, so I kind of know what actually went on. And he's like, oh no, this is this was different, blah blah blah. This happened in the disc game version of this. And they, like, you know, they kind of have fun with that. So which version is actually canon? I don't know. I guess the PS4 version is the canon version, as I'm under the impression that's what they use kind of going forward. He's got his low-cut t-shirt here, his v-neck. We're gonna put the little circle here. Now I gotta look up the Thundercats logo. Yeah, but the playing that game, you know, it made me hyped for Rift Apart, so I want to play that at some point soon. Okay, so the sleeves cut off here. A little divider here, and then he has like kind of bare Tygra arms. Has Tygra strips here. I know somebody, some deep cut lore Thundercat fan is going to see this and be like, that's not how his stripes are, and I'm going to say to that, I don't care. I will try to be accurate to a point, but the number of stripes, that's too far. That's a bridge too far. So apart from that, the other thing I've been doing, I've watched Search Party on HBO, even though I think it's not an HBO show. It's on what should we call it? I think it's originally a TBS show, which you can tell because like the episodes are super short. They're like 20 minutes, 20 something minutes a pop, like 22, 23 minutes a pop. Good commercial breaks, good spots for commercial breaks in it. So I was able to watch the first 2 seasons in like a day and a half while working. And yeah, pretty good. It's if you're like into shows like You or what's Dead to Me, like a dark humor, kind of macabre things, where the characters like kind of suck. Yeah, I highly recommend it. Because the thing about the show is like there's still good characters in it. Like, I mean, they're entertaining to watch, but they are not good people. Like none of the main cast, except for like one character, is actually like a good, decent person. They all suck and are like people I'm like, yeah, if I knew you in real life, I would hate being around you. Let me try turning down the music a little bit. So hopefully my voice is overpowering it. There's no way to type it in, right? Okay. So I think we're at least on par with the music, if not louder. So hopefully you guys can hear me. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'll try to adjust. Yeah, Search Party. It's there's like a very, because I'm kind of like I'm watching it based on like a recommendation from the Fire Escape podcast. So also give them a watch, give them a listen. Entertaining video game and life podcast, starring noted Twitch streamers Dan Reichert, Mary Kish, and Mike Mahardy of Polygon. So yeah, I recommend giving that. Actually, I don't think I can recommend it whole cloth. You kind of have to have a taste for Dan Reichert, formerly of Giant Bomb, first to kind of appreciate the insanity of that podcast, but like, you know, I recommend it. I find it entertaining. Anywho. So I started watching that show on recommendation of that, and the way they kind of pitched it is like, oh hey, it's kind of like The Wire in its structure, because it has like a premise to it. There's a premise for the first season that if you're watching it, you're like, how are they going to stretch? Because it's 5 seasons in total right now. You're like, how are they going to stretch it for that long? And like, you know, the problem of season 1 gets resolved by the end. It's like a complete arc, but then it sets up something new. And kind of like The Wire, it's like it has the same setting, which is in New York, with a lot of the same characters, but it kind of approaches the story that it's tackling sort of from like different perspectives or different things to consider. Things happen that kind of, they're like, okay, like, yeah, once this gets resolved, there's no more show, but then they kind of bring up another thing, and you're like, okay, yeah, I can see how it goes, how it's still going. And it stays compelling. The characters are entertaining to watch, but like I said, there's no character in there to really, for the audience to really identify with, or at least I hope you don't identify with, because if you do identify with these characters, oh boy, you gotta reevaluate some things in your life. Starring, I never get her name right, from Arrested Development. Maybe. I forget the actress's name. It's maybe Arrested. Alia Shawkat. So it's her in that as the lead. And like, you know, really briefly, like just to kind of really brief synopsis, and kind of like maybe this will sell you on the show. Kind of premise of season 1's arc is a girl goes missing, and then Alia Shawkat, who is a friend of hers from college, who they were barely even friends, they just kind of like knew each other in college, sort of, takes it upon herself to try to find her, because she kind of notices like no one's really trying to find her. And that's kind of the premise of the show. And it gets insane from there. And yeah, let me take a look at Tygra's WIP, because I have to see how many of those little ball things there are. Look, there's 3 ball things, and they're not on there like that, like little testicles. Alright, so that kind of does that. Like I said, like, you know, the show's been going on for a while. So like I said, like that's the premise of season 1, but that doesn't stay the premise of the whole show. The premise changes. And it's a wild ride. And I think it's worth watching cold, like not knowing too much about it. Because kind of like the main driving thing is mystery and suspense or whatever. let's see how this looks without the blue pencil underneath. Which, yeah, it's looking pretty decent so far, I'd say. Let's get a darker pencil in there to kind of further refine this. Refine that. And we do that because we're equal opportunity artists here. Like, you know, some people will know, like, oh, hey, you draw like a lot of scantily clad ladies in your art. But I also draw a lot of scantily clad dudes, so. Because that's what a lot of, like, you know, pop culture, like, you know, comic book art, sci-fi art, you know, all this shit that we're into, that they're making into movies nowadays. Is like, you know, they're all hard bodies, whether they're male, female, or anything. I also wanted to give him like these big ass hands. It's kind of like big, beefy, pawy hands. Oh, and a little bit of house cleaning. Probably should have announced this at the start of the stream. Sound alerts are active. You can use your channel points to do sound alerts. So,
oh no!
If you want to interact with the stream some, you can do that. Don't need to be a subscriber. You can just be a follower. And yeah, you can earn channel points by just being here and saying hi, hello, just hanging out. Get some channel points, and yeah, you can redeem them for some cool interactions. Got some sounds, got some actions you can make me do. So yeah, be sure to check that out at your leisure. Also looking into doing like animations and stuff for that. Not necessarily that I'm making the animations, but like, you know, I can get little cool little gify animations, mini animations, to kind of fill the screen with a bunch of crap. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Let's see if we can get. Redeeming that video booster. Yeah, so you can do stuff like that. Yeah, I think we're gonna. How long have we been going? I've been going about an hour, so we're gonna take a break in a bit. I'm just gonna polish off. I don't want to. I'm saying like polish this off while I'm kind of working on that area there. Yeah, I'm just gonna polish off these pencils a little bit. Then I'm gonna take a short break. In the meantime, be sure to follow me on social medias and check out my social medias: Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, where you can follow me, news about me, my art and stuff. I don't post the same stuff on all my social medias. Some stuff is more suited for other formats than others. For instance, on TikTok, you can find a kind of like booty picture of Psylocke. There's a time lapse on there. That's you know, that kind of content doesn't really fly on Instagram. You get kind of flagged for it. So it's on TikTok. So if you want to check that out, it's there. There's Instagram. You can check out some of my drawings. I have some. My Instagram stories are kind of humorous, I believe. So you could be sure to check that out. Let me make sure that my music player is still going. Yep, just relax. Just chilling, just vibing here. Twitter is all political nonsense and me just complaining, shouting into the void. So if you're into that, Twitter. Yeah, isn't it crazy how freaking Microsoft fucking acquired what is arguably the biggest video game publishing company in the world, Activision Blizzard. The company that was so big that it absorbed Blizzard. Blizzard, who has like one of the highest, if not the highest selling game in the world, or one of the highest selling games in the world, in World of Warcraft. It is bananas. that Microsoft is like, yeah, I'm just gonna reach into my back pocket here and you're ours now. It's like one of those stories that you'd always hear, like when you're a kid, or like in the 90s, in like Video Game Journal, and like EGM would have ran this as a prank story if they said like, oh, Sega or Nintendo just totally bought Sega, like, you know, one console manufacturer buying the other. It's like as big as that. And while I don't think Microsoft is going to be like, yeah, Call of Duty and Tony Hawk, and those are all just only on Xbox now. Sorry. I don't think they are going to I don't think that's the move. But it's not impossible for that to be the move. It's certainly a possibility. I don't think it's likely, but because it actually does, that kind of move would run counter to Microsoft's like other moves, which, like, you know, their whole idea, I think their kind of philosophy is like, oh yeah, we don't really care too much about selling hardware, it's all about Game Pass and software. That's what actually gets them the money, which consoles notoriously have always been loss leaders. Like, the kind of hardware that they put into game consoles and the price that they charge for them, like, it's way, even if you think the hardware of like a PS4, PS5, like in any PlayStation or any game console for their generation, even if you think it underperforms for, like, you know, graphical expectations of that generation, for the price that they sell, it is crazy. It's like, you know, they lose a ton of money, but what actually makes them money is software sales. That's how it's always been. And Microsoft, like, you know, they don't deny this. Other game companies are a little kind of shy around that fact, but like Microsoft is kind of embracing it. They're like, oh yeah, like, you know, we don't care if you play Xbox games on an Xbox. We don't care if you're buying a Series X or a Series S, or even if you just stick with the Xbox One. You can play all these games on there too, like, you know, especially with their cloud streaming stuff. Just pay for Game Pass and you're good. And that's what they're pushing people towards, is like Game Pass. It's like, oh, you don't even have to own like an Xbox. You could just, if you have a PC that can handle this, yeah, just Game Pass. And the thing is also, it's not just like, you know, it's that, like, you know, it's these games as service kind of philosophy that Microsoft is taking to. Apart from that, like, you know, look at what they've done with Minecraft. They could have taken Minecraft and been like, yeah, like, you know, Xbox exclusive, but they never did that. It's on Switch, it's on PC, it's on PlayStation still. They never stopped selling Minecraft on multiple platforms just because they acquired Mojang. And I think it's the same with the like Bethesda stuff. Like, you know, Deathloop came out on PS5. Could they change their minds tomorrow and be like, nah, fuck that, Call of Duty, only place to play it is on an Xbox or on a Windows PC? They could change their minds, but, and yeah, that's, to me, is bananas. That's crazy. I don't think they're going to do that, because that would be throwing money away. Because I think at a certain point, that's an awful big risk, especially once you, like, for the amount of money that they bought Activision Blizzard for, which was to the tune of like 68 billion or 70 billion. Everyone's been kind of rounding up the dollar amount, and like, you know, I haven't seen like a consistent source of like, oh hey, this is like, you know, what the actual price is. Like, it's been kind of different numbers have been thrown around, but it's for at least $68 billion that they paid for that. And for perspective, Disney paid $4 billion for Marvel. For Marvel Studios, for Marvel Comics, they paid $4 billion back in like 2008. So the kind of dollar amount of these like corporate mergers are, the way it's kind of inflating, the way it's kind of blowing up is pretty fucking scary, to be honest. All this money is being thrown around by like a select group of people, so that's pretty worrying. And you know, not to get too deep into the weeds here, but like, you know, this is public information, so I can go ahead and discuss it. But like, yeah, the Viacom CBS merger was like happened for $27 billion, and that was like 4 years ago at this point. Like, it's crazy, like, you know. And I forget how much the Zynga get bought for. I forget. Because that was like previously the like, oh, this is the largest dollar amount spent on on acquiring a game publisher. Let's see, Zynga. When Take-Two bought Zynga for the amount of $12.7 billion, which this Microsoft Activision deal just blows that out of the water. I believe Disney bought Star Wars for how much? I think $7 billion. Not Star Wars. Lucasfilm. Let's see. Disney purchase. Lucasfilm. Price. How much did that happen for? So yeah, so $10 billion for Lucasfilm. And like, you know what? For Disney, those are worth it. You know, Marvel for $4 billion. You put out an Avengers movie, that's $1 billion easy. 800 million, 900 million, $1 billion. Even something like Shang-Chi, which you know, like, you know, like, it's not, I thought it was an okay movie. And like, you know, it obviously isn't an Avengers movie. Shang-Chi, how much did that make? 432.2 million. That's the box office. Yeah, 432.2. Even something like Eternals, which was 402, and those are during COVID years. So those two together basically get you to $1 billion. Huh. That's surprising. Like, actually, all three Marvel movies got outperformed by Venom, which they also get a cut of Venom. Like Disney, like, you know, that's the thing with like this Sony thing, this Sony Spider-Man Disney relationship. Disney/Marvel still gets a cut of all those Sony Spider-Man movies. So yeah, I'm surprised that Venom actually outdid all three of them. Shang-Chi was at the bottom of the list was Black Widow, which, you know, I think it got kind of cannibalized by releasing it on Disney Plus at the same time. Also, it was like in July of the pandemic, people were still kind of like iffy on going out. I mean, I went out watched it, had a mask on the whole time, and went to a movie theater. It wasn't packed. It was just like it was it was like every other seat was filled. It was like maybe at like 50% capacity. And I went like opening weekend for Black Widow, and that was July. People were just kind of getting comfortable with the idea of like, maybe do I want to see this in a movie theater? Okay, I'll kind of watch it maybe, I guess. So 379.6 for Black Widow. Next comes Eternals for 402 million. That was in November. I think it's just Eternals just had terrible word of mouth, but that being said, it's still 402 million. I would like 402 million. I'll take 402 million. Then Shang-Chi at 432.2, which had great word of mouth, and I think by the time September rolled around, people were like, you know what, I don't care if I get the Rona. I'll go watch a movie. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of staying at home. So people were kind of more comfortable going there. But all that pales in comparison to Venom, Let There Be Carnage, at 501.9. Man, I'm surprised that those got outperformed by Venom, which by all accounts is not a great movie. But I think these are all going to pale in comparison to Spider-Man No Way Home. Box office is at 1.69 billion. Wow. Like I said, that Marvel deal has already paid off for Disney. It had to. $4 billion for like several $billion-dollar grossing movies in a year. Worth it. So that being said, so it's because of that I don't think that Microsoft is going to be taking anything in Activision's catalog and making it Xbox exclusive or console exclusive anytime soon, because they need to get that money back. And you get that money back by having Warzone everywhere. Buy it on Xbox, buy it on a PlayStation, or not buy it, but be able to play it and buy skins and cosmetics and all that crap that you can get for Warzone, booster packs, season passes, whatever. The latest Call of Duty, you can, or like World of Warcraft. I don't think they get anything by making them like Xbox exclusives. They got to make that money back, so that's going to stay multi-platform for a while. At least a while, or maybe forever. Who knows? Although it'd be pretty nuts if at some point Microsoft is just like, let's stop making Xboxes and just do Game Pass. We're a game publisher, developer now, and not a hardware manufacturer, because the money's in just putting Game Pass out there, charging $50 a month for, charging. I think Game Pass is going to get more expensive at some point soon. But right now, it is the best value in game. Pay $20-$30 a month, you get like every game. Charge it as a subscription service. Subscription service that you can play on your PlayStation, on your PC, on your Xbox. Why not? And I think that's how they approach things eventually. Why lose money on Xbox hardware when you could just have other people make hardware for you and you just make the games? And they're like, let Sony charge $50-$60 for their console exclusive games, for their big title games, which honestly I'm glad to pay. Like, whatever. Sony has had better console exclusives than Microsoft for a long time. And like a new Spider-Man game comes out, I am glad to pay whatever it is that it costs to just play it. Let's change the playlist to Samus and Chill instead of Zelda music all the time. Alright. I said I was going to take a break like 20 minutes ago, so I'm going to take a break now. So yeah, when we come back, I'm going to bitch about Encanto, and we're going to ink this drawing here. And yeah, stay tuned, everyone. So yeah, hang out for a couple minutes. I'm going to go fill up my water bottle and drain myself. And yeah, make room for more water. See you in a little bit. Bye. I gotta hit the button here. Alright, see ya. Hey, welcome back to the stream. Filmed live in front of a studio audience. Hey everyone. Hey. Thank you for joining. Hey. By live studio audience, I mean, whatever crap I have behind me. Like, you know, I think I have like a... Yeah, what's going on here? Yeah, just gotta work text. Highly inappropriate. Okay, this is gonna be a quick little rant. It's really... How do I say this without getting in trouble? The thing about working from home is that people have lost all sense of boundaries and this happens a lot with freelancing work too. Like I've had to tell like a client, leave me the fuck alone at this time of night. Well, they're like, oh hey, what you're sleeping right now? I mean, well, it doesn't matter if I'm sleeping or not. Oh, I didn't realize you were like sleeping or hanging out with your wife or with your kid. You know what? It shouldn't matter what I'm doing. If you need to contact me, and like during like weird hours, where like 11:30 at night, 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 3, whatever the hell your thought is that you can't wait, that you need me to know and you need to express, write it in an email. Do not text me. Do not call me. And the thing about, and this has always been a problem with freelance work, and it's become more of a problem with this kind of like work from home situation, is because you have the equipment there. Like, you know, we have to have the equipment. I've always had this equipment, but like now they know I have this equipment because, like, you know, I've been able to do my job from here and not have to go to an office. In fact, they even gave me a laptop to do it as well. But because of that, they presume that you're available at all times. As long as they can reach you by phone, as long as they can reach you by email, or like, not even email, because I'm not going to check an email. But I have my phone on, because I'm not going to turn off my phone, because, like, you know what, that's how, like, you know, my family needs me, friends need me, or whatever, or like, you know, someone just wants to talk, or whatever. I use my phone. But because that's on, there's a presumption that they're allowed to disrespect any sort of boundaries or disrespect any sort of like space that you set aside. And I had this client, like, you know, like literally, like he was like, oh, what hours are you available? And I say, like, hey, you can call me even when I'm at my day job. Just don't call me in the morning because I have meetings in the morning, and don't call me at these specific times because I usually have meetings with my staff or, like, you know, with my junior designers or with my team. Usually, like, hey, these are hours time. You can text me and be like, hey, can you talk right now at like 3 in the afternoon on a Wednesday? And chances are I'll be like, yeah, I'll get back to you. And I'll be like, yeah, I'm available right now, so yeah, I'll call you, or like, you know, or just call me right now. You can do that up until 9 p.m. Because, like, you know what, like, if I'm doing stuff from outside work, outside of my day job, yeah, I'll talk to you after hours, but after like my 9 to 5, sure, which are your traditional hours. I'll talk to you even past that until like 9 o'clock, but after that, leave me the fuck alone, and don't contact me on Sundays, because Sundays is when I sleep, rest, hang out with my wife, hang out with my kid. My nephew. I don't have a son, but like, my nephew's basically my kid I hang out with. And even though you set those boundaries, people just like to disrespect them and to break them all the time. And it is not acceptable. and I don't reward that by answering. Then when I do get back to them, in fact, I don't even acknowledge it. Like if they're like, oh hey, can you look at this thing and let me know what you think? And then the next day they get back to me and say, hey, did you get that thing that I sent you at like 11 at night or 11:30 at night? I'm like, oh no, I didn't see anything. Because you know what, as far as I'm concerned, like yeah, I didn't fucking see it because it happened outside of work hours or outside of my available hours. So if you want me to look at it, do it when I'm available. So yeah, so here's the thing, kids, with your freelancing or if you want to do art stuff, like yeah, set those boundaries. If no one's gonna respect it, you have to be the one to enforce it, and you do it by, I mean, it's not super hard to just be like, yeah, fuck you, ignoring you, or even just being like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna block you for tonight, or just whatever. If they try to get around those kind of blocks or whatever, certainly a red flag, and you gotta extract yourself from that situation. Alright, rant over. We're gonna start another rant next. This is the, I'm gonna rename this stream from Work in Progress Wednesdays to Rant Wednesdays. That's sort of an alliteration that works, right? So let's pick a nice textured brush. Noisy nib. We like noisy nib. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, so actually, first thing we're gonna do is export this time lapse. Yeah. So we have all that. And then we'll just cut it off at some point there. Okay. So we're going to save that because I want to have these pencils for TikTok at least. Export time lapse. Probably should have done this during the break, but you know what. I'll take this time to get started on the next rant, which is got around to watching Encanto about a week or two ago, or since the last stream. And I'm going to preface this by saying I didn't hate it. I don't dislike it, and I don't think anything less of anyone who likes the movie. Like, you know, it's decent. Like, you know, let's just put this, name this pencils. See, while we're here, maybe. Yeah, we'll put this on while we're bitching about the movie. Thank you to John Pumper on YouTube for doing these piano covers of Encanto. Or at least 27 minutes worth of them, too. Because I'm not gonna go too long on this. I'll preface my Encanto rant by saying, like, you know, it's not really a knock against this movie specifically, but I just feel kind of qualified to talk about it because, like, I am a Colombian American person. That's just who I am. I am a Colombian American person. Parents were born in Colombia. Parents are from there. Well, my mother is from, and my father too, both from the La Valle de Cauca. I'm just going to turn this down because it is a little distracting. My parents are from La Valle de Cauca, which, if you watch Encanto, is kind of like, it's not too dissimilar environment from where the Madrigals live. Very lush, mountainous, trees, cool. My grandparents, both sets of grandparents are farmers. Very rural country living. Grandmother came here when she was in her 20s after giving birth to my dad. She came over here and worked cleaning houses, cleaning apartments, cleaning businesses in order to make a better life for herself and my father. Eventually she went on to be a hairdresser and owned her own salon until she finally retired in the late 90s. My mother's side, yeah, they're farmers. My grandfather, Miguel, his wife Rosalvina, she passed away about 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago in a couple months. They worked very, very hard their entire lives. Farmers, rural. They had 6 kids. So I have that many uncles, aunts. My mother came over here when she was in her 20s. Met my father. They got married. 30 years later, they had 35 years later, they have or 36 years later, they have a child who rants about Disney movies on the internet. So that's how far we've come. So yeah, Colombian. So I feel like I am qualified to speak about Encanto. I am, however, Colombian American, born here, so I cannot speak to the experiences of someone who is from Colombia and is from there, is raised there, lived their life there. I lived my whole life here in New York. I am a New Yorker. I'm a Queens native. I'm Flushing. I like pizza. I'm probably more comfortable eating a slice of pizza than eating sancocho or something. Because I was trying to think of what Colombian food do I not like, but I like it. I like food. I like Colombian food because it's I was raised on that shit, man. Anyway, so those are my qualifications for everything. And again, I'm going to qualify, I did not dislike Encanto. I don't think anything less of people who do like it. I think it's a fun movie. I just didn't particularly care for it, and I don't see what the hype is about it. It's not my favorite. Out of 10, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5. A little bit below average. And I think I'm a little harsh on the movie, and that's probably because I am Colombian. The art is gorgeous. All the character art, the environment art, the modeling, the animation, the dynamics, most of the effects. There's a couple shots in there that I noticed some weird things. And I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't. Those aren't actual 3D particles. I think they used a particular or something, or they took footage of, or they had particles that were rendered in 2D and just kind of rough, garbage matted it on top of the shot and just moved it along with the camera, but didn't actually track it. Just very, very technical shit. But for the most part, the art was great. Not fine, fantastic. It was and honestly, I look at that, I wish I worked on this. I would kill I would give my fucking left nut to have been able to draw or do something on this, because it is a gorgeous looking film with great art direction. That being said, and I like the characters. The songs were okay. I mean, you hear one Lin-Manuel Miranda song, and you pretty much heard them all. I think there's some weirdness with like the people who like are Encanto stands on the internet, but like, yeah, that's to be expected. Whatever. It happened to every culture whenever they had their movies made for them about them. Of course, it would happen here. I like the characters. I like the characters that they set up. Most of the characters, at least. I think they're fun to look at. They have interesting premises. But that being said, like the story really didn't do shit for me. It is a story where nothing really happens. It's like poorly set up. The resolution is kind of messy, and it's a little like the feelings that they want you to feel at the end are absolutely not earned. Is like kind of my main issues with it. And like, you know, like I said, like I like the characters. I wish they had more to do, and it's not like and I talked to my brother about this, and he was like, "Oh yeah, there should have been like, you know, the grandma. They should have had like a fight with the grandma." I'm like, no, like it's not even that. Like there should be like a villain or something there that they fight. It's just that like, yeah, like it didn't. Like, yeah, nothing really happens in it. And the resolution is just like, oh yeah, I guess they kind of they say a nice thing to Mirabel. As far as I could tell, like, yeah, like their relationship, like the relationships that they have with Mirabel at the end are not too dissimilar. Like, you know, the grandma was kind of mean to her at some points, but she wasn't mean to her. She was just kind of like, okay, like, yeah, just kind of ignored you in favor of my other grandkids. And like, you know, the house didn't have to fall apart for her to be like, oh yeah, like, you know, don't treat me that way, dude. And then things just kind of wrap up, and like I don't think anyone really learns anything. But then like everyone's like sad for a bit, but then like there's like no consequences in the movie. And like, yeah, like what happens to Mirabel's character? Like what change does she go through at the end that makes her a different character than the one at the start of the film? Nothing. She's still the same character. No personality shift. Like what did Luisa do in the film? Nothing. Like the big conflict is like, oh hey, she learned to get along with her sister, which I guess they just need to sing at each other once to kind of get over their issues. Same with the grandmother. There's also, in my opinion, too many characters for you to actually like have any sort of focus on. They're just kind of there, and they don't, and most of them don't do anything other than just being just kind of there. And this song, pretty good. I like this song. I'm not gonna bitch about the music, but like I said, like you heard one Lin-Manuel song, you've heard them all. I mean, they could have got a Colombian musician, composer to like do things instead of just being like, oh yeah, like, you know, yeah, he's close enough. He's Spanish, or he's Hispanic. He's Latinx. That's close enough. You know, I'm not bitter about that. Anyway, like I said, like the story really didn't do much for me. And the thing, like my biggest, and this is like really has nothing to do with the movie at all. Like I said, like the movie's perfectly serviceable. It's fine. If you like it, you like it. Cool. I didn't like it, and that's fine. But if you did like it, I'll question your taste in things, but like, no, it's fine. It's like, it's not like it's a bad movie or that it's a problematic movie or whatever. I just don't think it's a very well-constructed movie. I'll expand on that in a bit. But kind of like the, it's just the kind of hype around the movie is that if you somehow did not enjoy the movie, like it, for a lot of people, how do I phrase this? For a lot of people, like the movie was about kind of not that I'm concerned about being quote unquote canceled, but for a lot of people, like this movie, just the fact that like, oh hey, there are Colombians in this movie, it was good enough. It could do no wrong once that was established. And people are afraid to criticize or not like the movie because it is inclusive. Simply by being inclusive, that's a substitute for quality for a lot of people. But I'm not like that. Like, I appreciate the inclusiveness, I appreciate the touches, I appreciate the Colombianness of it. I saw myself in a character or two. Like, I was just like, oh hey, like Bruno has my fucking nose, dude. We don't talk about Bruno's, but we talk about Bruno's. He's like my skin color. But then I'm just like, but like nothing happens here. Like, you know, it's just kind of a movie where nothing happens. Like, you have all these cool characters that are set up, and you're like, hey, they're here. And then what? Nothing. And then you expect me to be like, hey, good, yeah, awesome, thank you for including. And like, you know, it's touted by like, you know, all the usual progressive people as being like, yeah, this is awesome because like, you know, because she pointed with her lips, because they had the fucking Colombian little bag thing that my mom has, that all my mom's had. Oh, she was eating arepa. Holy shit, this movie is the best. Oh, they're doing bachata and cumbia. They're doing bachata and cumbia salsa moves. They had a song by Carlos Vives. Oh my god. Which I like the song. I like the Carlos Vives song. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on the Carlos Vives song. I liked it. But we were given a movie where they're like, yeah, they kind of like set up the world. They didn't even really set up a conflict. They just set up a world, and they're just like, okay, and they just kind of left it at that, and they're like, yep, welcome guys. And like, you know, like I said, like not every movie needs to be like a Marvel movie or an action movie or some shit like that. Which is like, you know, like I said, I was talking to my brother and some other people about that, and they're like, yeah, like, you know, they needed a villain, and while I didn't necessarily believe that it needed a villain, it did need some conflict. Because kind of like like what makes a story kind of compelling. And like, you know, this is like this kind of school of thought where like the story structure usually goes, and like, you know, make a story compelling is to be like, hey, like, you know, you have your world, you have your hero, your main protagonist, who has their day-to-day routine. Something happens to interrupt it, and they need to, and that sets them off on their journey towards their goal. And then they work towards the goal, they achieve the goal or something, they come out of it on the other side changed, either physically changed or personality changed or something. And that's typically the structure of, like, you know, most stories have that structure. Even like most movies have that. And like, and movies that don't, or like stories that don't have that, like, break the mold in interesting ways, which I'm sorry to say that like Encanto doesn't. Because like my biggest beef with the movie is like, like, because the whole kind of thing of the movie is like, okay, so you have all these Colombians with superpowers for some reason living in a house, and they're all getting their superpowers, but then for some reason the house is falling apart, and it's Mirabel's fault for some reason. And so she goes off to set it to fix it, fails, but then they lose their powers. But then they just get them back anyway because they're like, oh, come, like, yeah, because they sing a song. At no point do they ever say like why it's Mirabel's fault that the house is falling apart. I mean, they say, like, I get it, like, oh yeah, the house falls apart, or like the bell, the bella, because I was trying to combine English and Spanish. If at some point the candle extinguishes, their powers go away. They never establish like why is it going out. Is it a reflection of their attitude towards each other? That being said, I actually this song I actually like a lot. The one about the butterflies. Yeah, at no point is it ever established that like, oh hey, because the conclusion that they kind of arrived to at the end is, oh, the grandma's causing this by being shitty. So is the candle affected by her mood or something? Is like what? Because then they establish that like, oh hey, like, it's no, it's going well because like, she gets along with her sister, whatever, and then they. Because there's a point where like the candle's going out, but then she's like, well, I get along with my sister now, and then the candle's like, okay, no, I'm in good shape, cool, awesome. Then when the grandma shows up, they're like, oh, I'm here to shit on what you just did, which is something Colombian mothers do. Not that I'm bitter or anything. Then it launches into like her being like, well, like, I went like Super Saiyan when like, the dudes from like the Thousand Night War came and killed your grandfather. So why does she get superpowers and like the other people in the village did not? Those are questions that are raised, but they don't care to address or answer or anything. And what are the consequences of them all losing their powers? Again, it gets raised, does not ever get addressed though. Like, if Luisa can't lift the boulder over her head, then what happens to the village? Do they depend on her like that? They don't. They kind of show that the village is actually pretty functional, more or less. Powers are just kind of nice to have. Yeah, the conclusion that I kind of arrived at upon finishing the movie, I'm like, so this story, like, what was the point of giving them superpowers? Like, what's the point of making Luisa super strong? What's the point of having the little kid that talks to animals? What's the point of having Dolores who can hear whatever, like the other girl that can the aunt that can control weather, or the magical arepa lady. Like none of those ever come into play in the story at all. Like, what is the point? Like I said, there are other Disney movies. Like, I look at a Frozen, and I'm like, okay, like, you know, there are questions that get raised up. They don't have to answer everything, but like, you know, but for the sake of their story, also has ice powers. Why? Doesn't matter, because that's not the story they're telling. The story they're telling is like, oh hey, I'm getting this stuff is kind of getting out of control, and I have to learn to embrace it or whatever. That's kind of a story on the surface. There's other stories about, like, you know, sexual awakening and whatever that you can look into deeper if you want to, but for the sake of, like, you know, just kind of taking things at surface level. I'm not going to get into that, but like, you know, in that one, Elsa has an arc, Anna has an arc, even the white dude, I can't remember the guy's name, the lead, the ice seller dude, he's not Hans. Hans is the villain. But yeah, but there was like, yeah, there was a conflict there. There was like, oh hey, someone's trying to take over the kingdom. We got to do something about it. And it wasn't like, you know, necessarily like, hey, we have to like solve it with violence. That one was also solved by like, oh hey, I get along better with my sister too. My sister now. I realized that my sister was the one who was there for me and had patience with me, and like, you know, is not someone I should be pushing away, so let me stop pushing her away. That's the conclusion that they came to at the end of Frozen, and it worked, because, hey, Elsa realizes, like, hey, I can, because, like, she warms up both metaphorically and physically. She's like, okay, like, I can learn to control my power, and I'm also learning to get along better with my sister. Anna learns to be brave and to speak up and not to just go with the flow and to take responsibility for things. Ice Dude, like, you know, learns to stand up for what he believes in and not, and like, you know, to kind of give love a chance or something. I think that's his arc. I forget what his arc is exactly, but he does have one. So, you know, Frozen had that. Encanto has all these characters that the one interesting thing it did set up is the idea that, like, oh, Bruno is this kind of outcast in the family. Bruno is this Bruno is someone that, like, you know, that we've decided is kind of persona non grata in the family, and we're just gonna pretend like, you know, and this happens in Spanish families, and this happens in Colombian families, Latino families all the time, like, you know, they get kind of disowned, and you can get disowned for, like, you know, disagreeing with the matriarch, or like, you know, something as ridiculous as like being gay or something. Like, it's unfortunately there's a lot of ostracizing that happens in those kind of family structures. So Bruno gets ostracized, and I was like, oh, this is actually, like, seems like it might go somewhere. But then he disappears and doesn't actually do anything with it. He kind of helps the girl, but then, like, he kind of disappears, and then decides at the end, he's like, well, I'm gonna come back, and then they're just like, okay, yeah, you're back, okay, cool. And like I said, they have this big moment where they're like, okay, like, okay, Bruno's here, and we're gonna forgive him, or we're gonna learn to get along with him, or whatever. and it just kind of they just kind of brush it off, and it just kind of happens, and it's not really, like I said, it's not earned. And that was like I said, that was the one interesting thing that they had going in this movie, and they fucking didn't earn it. They didn't earn when he comes back, and like they're like, oh yeah, we get along now. I wanted to see that happen as an actual him actually kind of coming to terms and being like, hey, like, you know. Actually, that is the one bit of writing in the movie that I did like, that I did appreciate. He's like, hey, I have a gift, but it's not helping anyone, so I left. And like, you know, people feel like that too. I felt like that too. Like, you know, like, hey, like, you know, I have this thing that I'm good at, but it's harmful towards people, or that it's not doing anyone any good. So how does Bruno get over that? He just decides he's over it and comes back. And then they're just like, yeah, we're over it too. And they get along. That's it. That's all that happens. Alright. You listen to me rant about Encanto for like 27 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up soon. So I'll just wrap this up by saying, hey, my biggest thing with Encanto is that they set up all these interesting characters, at least these superficially interesting characters, like the buff girl, like Luisa. Like, I watched that, I was like, oh wow, she's awesome, she has a cool song, but then she ends up doing nothing in the film, nothing, other than just crying. Laura's the same, she's just like, okay, like, yeah, she's a cute looking character, whatever, she's like, oh, does that, fucking, like, you know, I do that, as a Colombian, that's a thing we do. Yeah, but she doesn't really do much. And then all of a sudden they say like, oh yeah, she's the one that's actually in love with what's his face, the guy, random dude, guy from the town. That just kind of happened, and then he's like, okay, I guess I'm in love with you too, even though he's like spent the whole movie like fawning over Isa. They don't really have a moment to actually be like, hey, like, she only makes a move because she's like, okay, like, yeah, I guess he's single now. And then he's like, I guess I am, so I'll hook up with you instead. Which, oh yeah, if we're gonna be honest, that does happen. It does happen with Colombians. And to summarize, they set up all these interesting characters, but they do nothing. Or the story that they're in just doesn't need like superpowered characters. Like, why even have superpowered characters in this story that doesn't really have anything to do with it, or it doesn't matter? Like, I wish that these characters were in like a Pixar film, because a Pixar film like has stuff like that, character growth, development, arcs, something to do. This felt like the story arc of, like, you know how like Pixar, like, you know, they'll have the movie come out, but then they'll have like, oh hey, we have like the animated short that comes out like for the DVD release, where like, yeah, we have the characters there, but they're not really doing anything. They're just kind of, it's like a fun little moment or whatever, and like, you know, it's nothing of consequence, like they did with Luca when I think it came out. Well, not when it came on like semi-recent, like in November, they had like a Lucas short on there where he's just like, okay, like yeah, he's something happened, or like, you know, it's a little side story that's really of no consequence, but it's like, you know, it has fun character moments. That's what this movie felt like. It was like one of those shorts, but just extended to like an hour and a half or 2 hours. I don't remember how long the movie was exactly. I think it was like a little less than 2 hours. Which I was just like, they had like 2 hours and did nothing with these characters. Then at the end they kind of rush. They're like, oh yeah, okay, so Lisa learns to take it easy sometimes and has to ask for help. Okay, but you never really actually, like with Louisa specifically, they just kind of instead of like showing you, like I said, like instead of showing you what happened, like, you know, the consequences of her like taking on too much, they just tell you. They're just like, oh yeah, oh, I take on too much. They don't ever show you how that's disastrous for her, or how that actually makes her feel. It's just like, oh yeah, she's just kind of there. And that's like her first speaking lines in the movie, is her being like, oh, I'm taking on too much. Like, you haven't even really, because her whole thing is like, well, I take on a lot, but I face the challenge because, like, you know, I just face it because, like, you know, who else is going to do it? Which, again, relatable. I get that, like, you know, there's something there. There's that kind of characters. There's something there. There is. Like, I'm not going to say that that's not an interesting premise for a character. And she's like, yeah, like, you know, I'm kind of like strongman around here, so I'm not going to say no to work. But they never show her like being like, yeah, I can do that, 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 yeah, I can. They just tell you in like a song. And that's like her first line of dialogue in the movie. Because like you're supposed to kind of be like, hey, oh, she's strong. Oh, but she's secretly hurting. But if you start off like her first lines of dialogue is that like, oh, I'm hurting. You don't. That's not whatchamacallit. What's the word? I don't fucking know it in English. You're not subverting expectations by being like, oh, she's actually hurting. Because you haven't established that, like, oh yeah, she's like strong and takes on everything. No, the first thing that you do is have her being like, oh no, I'm actually hurting. Actually hurting from what? You haven't subverted any because like the whole notion of her being like, yeah, I'm strong, but I'm actually hurting is subverting your expectations of being like, oh, she's a strong woman, she should be able to handle everything. Oh, but she's hurting inside. That was unexpected. But you don't get to do that. They just be like, oh, they start off right away. It's like, oh, she's hurting inside. Even within the context of that song, that's like the first couple lines of dialogue is that she's like, well, I'm hurting inside. I don't get to fucking stop or whatever. I don't get to fucking express that I'm in discomfort or that I'm taking on too much. Because everyone depends on me. And that's like the second or third line in the song. It's like, I'm under pressure and I don't think I can handle it anymore. And that's like your first interaction with Louisa. Yeah, like I said, like there's a lot of interesting stuff there, but they don't freaking do a good job establishing it. Yeah. I think my main disappointment with Encanto is the fact that I am Colombian and that I wanted more from it. Like I said, the art's gorgeous, The design is freaking great, but I wanted more. I wanted more from it. I wanted a good movie out of it, and instead I got it. The movie that was alright. It was okay. It's like, alright. That's technically well done, but it just was boring to watch. And then just kind of seeing everyone kind of fawn over it and just being like, okay, you guys are happy with the barest of scraps. And that doesn't, and to me, that doesn't sit well. I was like, oh yeah, like, we have, like, for me, diversity and inclusivity is not a substitute for quality. But for a lot of people it is. Because we're trained that way. Because we're so starved for projects and media of people that look like us, that we're just willing to accept anything and kind of praise it as being better than it actually is. Simply because it's diverse, or simply because it's inclusive, or simply because, like, it's something you haven't seen before. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's good. And I'm not saying that, like, all new things or all diverse things are bad. It's just that I'm saying, like, just because it is diverse, just because it is inclusive, is not an automatic qualifier for it being good. And, like, yeah, I'm gonna cite something. I'm gonna cite, like, Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie, which, I mean, I liked it. I liked Wonder Woman a lot. I thought that was actually a good movie. But I know a lot of people who did not think it was. They're like, oh yeah, it's just kind of boring, meanders. Like, the final boss fight is kind of just, it looks stupid. The guy looks doofy or whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can understand that. But anyone who said that out loud, it was like, yeah, I didn't really care for Wonder Woman. Got attacked as, like, oh, what are you, some fucking misogynist or whatever? Oh, you're fucking shitty comic skate person, blah 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 blah, for having the gall to, like, not think it was a good movie. What's wrong with you? Whoa. And, like, like I said, I think Wonder Woman was pretty good. Not my all-time favorite movie. There's, like, a scene in there that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can go back and watch that one. The one where she's, like, storming, like, that first big fight scene where she's in World War I, kind of like saving the town. Like, I think that was, like, a really well done scene. But I think that's pretty much it for it. The rest of it, like, I can see the argument, like, okay, yeah, it slogs and kind of, like, it could have been better. Like, it definitely could have been better. But, like, people were realizing it was like, this is the best superhero movie of all time. Simply because, like, oh hey, this is the first one with a female lead, with a woman lead. Again, I liked it. I'm not gonna go on record and praise it that way either. Just like I like Black Panther. I like Black Panther well enough. At the end of the day, it was just like, yeah, this is just kind of like another Marvel movie. Especially, yeah, like, at this stage of Marvel, we're kind of like, yeah, like, it's the, oh, he fights a character that has, like, the same power set as him, blah, blah, blah. Like, like, and that's what makes me, I mean, I'm gonna say this is what makes me sad about Chadwick Boseman dying, but, like, it's a human being lost their life, and that's plenty sad enough. But the disappointing thing about them not doing another Black Panther movie at this time, that continues the story of T'Challa, is that we don't, like, I would have liked to see them take those characters and, like, tell other stories with them, and, like, that would be cool, I want to see more. I don't want to just be like, hey, this movie happened, you got your movie, now you gotta praise it like it's the best thing ever. Yeah. At the end of the day, like I said, like we should not just be satisfied with just having a seat at the table. I want a good seat at the table. I want a good quality movie. And again, not saying that these movies are bad, or especially the ones that I cited. Even Encanto, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm saying like it could be better, and I want more. I expect more. I want the same. In order for me to praise it as like this is a good movie that I can recommend to anyone without qualifiers, without any sort of qualification, it has to be good. It has to be compelling. And just having like, oh hey, they had an arepa in there. Just having that in there, having these little touches of things that I'm familiar with, kind of feels a little patronizing if the movie's not great. It kind of feels a little bit like, oh hey, this is like the Ready Player One of Colombian representation, where they're just like, oh yeah, here, look at this thing, hey, look at this thing, hey, look at this thing, look at this thing, hey, capybara, but don't really have a story there, or not have a story that's worth telling in there. That being said, I'm pretty sure this movie did well for them. They did not submit the Bruno song for a Grammy, which is surprising. Because they're like, oh yeah, they didn't expect it. I'm like, really? They didn't expect like a song by Lin-Manuel to be like universally praised? Because like, as much as I was just like, yeah, you hear when one Lin-Manuel song, you heard them all. As much as I'm like that, his shit's good. His shit is popular. His shit bops. So I think it was a misstep on their part to be like, yeah, just not. Why are we gonna bother with that? I'm gonna want it thicker than that. Yeah, and I've noticed that, like, yeah, whenever I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really care for Encanto, they're like, oh, was it like not, like, their kind of go-to questions like, oh, was it not, did it not include this, or did you feel like this wasn't authentic? Like, oh, and that's all. Like, it has nothing to do with that. It's like, it's just that it wasn't interesting to me. It's just the story wasn't interesting. I mean, I do have some things to mention about, like, you know, it's kind of representation and stuff, but, like, you know, that's another here and there. But like it's really more of an observation than like actually like a complaint about it. But like the characters there are kind of written as if they are Colombian Americans, like sons and daughters of immigrants, where like the grandkids, they're like, it's kind of like a weird thing where like, okay, all these, you know, I mean, it's an American film that takes place in South America. They're gonna speak English, but for some reason, the only ones with accents are like the older characters. Like the grandma has a Colombian accent. The three kids, the mother, the aunt, and the uncle. Although, what's his face? John Leguizamo, not so much. He has an accent, but it's not really Colombian. It's like kind of like a New Yorker accent. But yeah, but the grandma has like, she talks like this. She kind of has like that kind of Colombian, like, you know, like the accent that they do in American shows when they want to show that someone's Spanish. It's kind of like a, not necessarily a broken English, but like, you know, it's like, you know, like very thick Spanish accent. And they all kind of have that, except for the grandkids. They all kind of have like perfect English accent. They're like all speaking English with like American accents. So to me, like, I was just like, oh well, this movie takes place in Colombia. They would all have the same accent, right? But like I said, it's kind of weird because it's a movie that's in English that takes place in South America. So like I wasn't really expecting them to all to have like the Spanish accent or whatever. But like, you know, it's kind of weird that like only the older characters are kind of portrayed as like, oh yeah, they have accents, or like, in which case they're like, oh yeah, their English is not up to as much as up to speed. They're not as comfortable speaking English as the younger characters. And like I said, they're kind of portrayed as like the children of immigrants rather than we're all native Colombians here. Yep. And like I said, that's just more of an observation. It's not really a legit complaint. I just kind of found that weird. You don't need to be that thick. Alright, so that's my Encanto wrap. So let's get back to freaking Tygra. Remember Tygra? Remember Year of the Tygra? I gotta freaking... I'm gonna do a separate layer. Pretty sure. I'm pretty confident I'll mess this up. But let me make sure I have a fresh Thundercats logo here. What I'm doing. cool. Charizard looking. Let's fill you up. Yeah, I decided to do this drawing this week. I think all the... And technically, I guess you could celebrate Lunar New Year starting like January 1st. I think all the Lunar New Year stuff kind of happens like next weekend, or this weekend. All I know is my wife is like, she's like, I want to get dim sum this weekend and, you know, hang out, get some moon cakes. And I'm like, alright, cool. I think Flushing is having their parade this weekend or the weekend after. They have a Chinese New Year parade every year. I think the kids have off from school like next week for Lunar New Year, which is awesome that they started recognizing that. I remember growing up, one of my Chinese American classmates would be like, hey, I have to, they would catch shit because they're like, oh hey, I want to, like, you know, they would take off to observe the New Year, or like, you know, just to hang out with family and whatever. Just like, you know, I don't know exactly what the celebration is, but like, you know, like, or like what the actual customs were, or like, you know, I just knew that like, hey, like, you know, my classmates, but like, you know, they would take off to go hang out with family, go do stuff, like, you know, just like, you know, same way that you do the American New Year, which is whatever, like, you know, hang out with family, hang out with friends, whatever, drink. We're little kids, we're gonna drink, but you know, party, whatever, dinner, cool stuff, good times. They'd be like, hey, we're gonna take off for that to go hang out with family, and teachers would be like, we're like, you know, they would catch shit at school, be like, oh, you missed a day, you're marked absent. Like, you know, and a lot of these kids are, you know, they're going for like perfect attendance, whatever. So they're like, which, like, you know, you all know now that perfect attendance was just kind of bullshit, whatever, and just kind of a way to stress kids out more than they really need to. Anyway. So all the kind of facial details, like the little kind of like tiger marks or whatever, like, you know, because his mouth kind of does this kind of thing where this is lighter and then this is like orange and then his hair here is kind of like white, but then this top part is orange. I'm not going to draw in those dividers with inks. I'm going to do those as colors. And those colors are going to have to wait till next time because it is already past midnight. And I have to work tomorrow. So when can we continue this? I might continue this during a lunch stream tomorrow. So if you want to catch me like around like 2 p.m. during my lunch break, I might continue this. Otherwise, Friday we'll continue this, do an art stream at night. But yeah, thank you for joining me tonight. Yeah, let's make this full. My mic's still on, great. Listen to these Tifa jams. Well, that was the other bit of news that we didn't touch upon. Yeah, Tifa. Big week at the Italian Senate. If you don't know why, you can look it up. I'm not going to mention why. Other than what I just said now. I'm not going to get into it too much, because, yeah. That's the news. Tygra, Thundercats, ho! Yeah, looking forward to coloring this in. Having my little bit of pop culture fun here. But yeah, thank you for joining me today and listening to me bitch about a children's movie. But yeah, but if you're gonna take away anything from my rant there, is like I said, like don't, especially if you're a person of color or a minority of some sort, I think we should just, like, you know, never really be truly satisfied with what is given to us by the mainstream media, and that we should always look to push it even more.
It's no use!
Shut up, Silver. Oh yeah, I have a soundboard. I haven't used it at all.
Oh no.
But yeah, if you're a person of color, minority group, part of the LGBTQ community, or any type of person at all that isn't considered mainstream, yeah, you don't have to be satisfied with what little scraps you get in American media. One, there's other media outside of American media that you can totally look out towards to see good quality stuff. Two, there's always a better seat at the table for you to have. So, like I said, I didn't think this movie was terrible. I know they're probably going to do a part 2 because, like, you know, I'm pretty sure this movie did well for them. I just hope that for part 2, Columbia, the movie, part 2, that it's a better movie, that it's a better story, that it's actually one that's interesting to watch and doesn't just get by on, like, oh hey, we're diverse, we're inclusive, and just kind of leave it at that. I hope that they kind of really endeavor to actually give people or give characters an arc and make them interesting and make them do interesting things instead of just kind of hanging out. And I hope for a more diverse kind of set of movies out there. Like, you know, it's not enough that, like, oh hey, I don't want to just see American Colombian movies that are just like, oh hey, it's all about family. I want to see cool action movies, cool drama movies, cool comedy movies starring Colombians in lead roles, Colombians as main parts of the cast, Colombians that aren't just pigeonholed to stereotypes, and not just Colombians, but I want to see, like, for all Latino people, Hispanic people, who are like, you know, who have these parts in media that they're able to get cast as things that are not just reliant on stereotypes. That, like, you know, that we get to be the ones to tell good stories too, because we have a lot of good stories. Like, if I was tapped, if they tapped me to fucking be like, hey, here's a big ass budget, tell us a story about Colombia and Colombians. For one, I'd have to think about it. Two, I would do a movie that has to do with El Pollo Demónico, which is the demon chicken. The demon chicken is a Colombian urban myth tale, tall tale thing, where it's a possessed rooster that hangs out in the woods, in the mountains of rural Colombia, that lures people out through its rooster song, by its chicken sounds, luring unsuspecting travelers and farmers out there, being like, hey, where'd my chicken go? Leading them out to secluded woods and murdering them and taking their souls to hell. That's the movie that I would have made instead of Encanto, because that's more interesting. But I think that's I think there's a story there. Demon chicken drags a Colombian farmer, lures him out to the woods, drags him to hell. He has to learn to escape by believing in himself or something, or coming to terms with some sort of crime that he did, and asking forgiveness for it. And along the way, he sings some songs, and Carlos Vivas is there too. We could bring Lin-Manuel along as well, because why not? He's honorary Colombian now. And that's our movie. He has to fight his way out of hell, or figure out a way out of hell, because the demon chicken brought him there. And that's his story arc. Anyway, I'm just kind of ranting here and bitching, and I said I would stop like an hour ago. But happy Lunar New Year to everyone who celebrates that. Happy January, and happy Black History Month. It's coming up. And like I said, people of color, especially African Americans, you were given a month by the people here in the United States, and you're given a month and told, well, hey, be happy with that. But they gave you the shortest month, 28 days. 28 days. You should be satisfied with that shit. Demand a longer month, just like Colombians demand better Colombian movies. And also, we also demand, we're all here in solidarity, demanding better real stuff, ends to police brutality, and ends to inequality and income inequality in this country, in this world. But that's a bigger battle than than the one in movies and entertainment, which is what this stream is about: movie and entertainment business. I forgot to preface this at the beginning of the stream, but all opinions portrayed on this stream are strictly my own and not representative of any of my employers. So, fuck the Islanders. And who else do I want? Fuck the Hurricanes. Fuck them too. We'll beat you next time. And who are we playing tomorrow? We're playing the Blue Jackets. We're playing the Blues or the Blue Jackets. I always get them mixed. Rangers. Schedule. Who are we fighting? We're playing the Blue Jackets tomorrow night. So, I have no particular beef with them. But fuck them. Fuck the Blue Jackets. Yeah. Kind of realized I should probably play that as my like, oh hey, the stream's over song. But it's kind of too late for that. It's playing now. So yeah, thank you for joining me. Have a good night. It's 12:46 now. Follow me on social media at PXBArt. At PXBArt on pretty much everything: Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. I'm on Facebook. Still on Facebook. Facebook stuff is pretty much the same as the Instagram stuff, so you can follow me on either or. They're both owned by the same company, so whatever. So yeah, check me out on there. Check out the merch shop, society6.com/PXB_art. That's the only one that has an underscore, which I should really try to change that, because that would just make it easier if everything was just the same. Society6.com/PXB_art. Buy t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, merch. Support the stream that way. You can also support the stream by visiting my coffee page, ko-fi.com/PXBArt. URL's right there right now. $3 donations get you. You can support the stream for as little as $3 by buying me a coffee. $3 donors get a digital copy, a high-res digital copy of anything I've done here on stream, and most pieces of art that are on my Instagram. Most pieces of digital art. If you see something that is not digital art on there, that's like a pencil sketch or a sketchbook sketch, let me know. If you want that as a high-res thing, that for phone wallpaper, desktop wallpaper, whatever, I'll try to accommodate you. But for the most part, all digital art that's on there available as digital prints, that you get a high-res thing with layers that you can use as a phone wallpaper, desktop wallpaper, as an avatar, whatever. Just be sure to credit me if you're using it as an avatar. $6 gets you a physical mini print. Here, do I have any handy? I had some that I mailed out the other day that were here. I think I already sent them out. But yeah, 4x6 prints. Again, of any piece that I've done here on stream, or most pieces that are on my Instagram, just let me know. When you make the donation, just send me a message and be like, hey, I want this year the Tygra as a mini print, and I'll print it out and send you and mail it to you. As long as you're in the US. If you're outside of the US, I cannot help you, but if you're outside of the US, I'll send you a high-res thing so you can print it yourself. $15 gets you the fine art book with stuff not suitable for work images, drawings that I've done, anatomy drawings, figure drawing sessions, stuff that I've done over the years that I cannot share anywhere because they kick me off those social medias or yell at me if I post them there. So I've collected them all into a nice digital PDF book. If you would like that book, $15 donated to the coffee page gets you that. So yeah, just let me know if that's what you like, and yeah, I'll send that over to you as a digital PDF, digital ebook. And that's it for me tonight. Thank you very much. We're going to stream again soon, hopefully. Yep. And yeah, have a good night. Be nice, be good, speak up, and take care of yourself, take care of others, just take care, you know. Be good to yourself and be good to others. Have a good night, and take care. See you soon. Bye. And I forgot to set that up, so let's do that again. See you soon. So bye.